Hello, and welcome to the Mindful Zone. I'm so grateful that you've chosen to spend this time with me today. Whether you stumbled upon this video by chance or came here intentionally seeking guidance, I want you to know how much it means to have you here. Together, we're going to explore a topic that touches all of us at some point in our lives: how to stop worrying about the negative. Worrying is something most of us are familiar with. It's that nagging voice in the back of your mind telling you things could go wrong, replaying past mistakes or imagining worst-case scenarios for the future. Sometimes worry can feel like an endless loop, a mental treadmill that keeps running even when we're exhausted. But what if there was another way? What if we could step off that treadmill and find peace instead? That's exactly what we'll be diving into today. Drawing from the wisdom of Buddhism, meditation and mindfulness practices, we'll uncover tools and techniques to help you let go of unnecessary worry and cultivate a deeper sense of calm and clarity. These teachings aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical strategies you can apply right away, whether you're a beginner or someone who's already walked part of this path. Now, before we begin, I want to remind you that this isn't about perfection. You don't need to fix yourself overnight, or ever for that matter. This is about progress. It's about learning to meet yourself where you are, exactly as you are, and finding ways to navigate life with more ease and grace. In the next hour, we'll break down 10 key chapters, each designed to give you a new perspective on worry and offer actionable steps to shift your mindset. From understanding why we worry to embracing imperfection, cultivating gratitude, and building a daily practice, we'll cover everything you need to start transforming your relationship with negativity. As we move forward, I encourage you to approach this experience with curiosity and kindness, not just toward yourself, but also toward the process. If you feel resistance, frustration, or doubt along the way, that's okay. Those feelings are natural. The goal that isn't to eliminate discomfort entirely, it's to learn how to respond to it differently. Take a moment now to settle into wherever you are. Maybe you're sitting comfortably at home, perhaps you're taking a break at work, or maybe you're out enjoying nature while listening to this. Wherever you are, take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and then slowly exhale. Let that breath ground you, reminding you that you're safe in this moment. This video is a space for reflection, growth, and connection. So, let's begin with an open heart and a willingness to explore. Over the next hour, my hope is that you'll discover not only how to stop worrying about the negative, but also how to embrace life with greater joy, presence, and resilience. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Understanding worry. Why do we worry? Worry is one of those universal human experiences. No matter who you are or where you come from, chances are you've spent at least some time worrying about something. It's almost as if worry is embedded in the fabric of being human. But why does it feel so pervasive? Why does it seem to follow us around like a shadow, even when things are objectively going well? To understand why we worry, let's first take a step back and examine what worry actually is. At its core, worry is a form of mental activity, a repetitive loop of thoughts that often revolve around potential problems or negative outcomes. It's our mind's attempt to prepare for the future, to anticipate challenges, and to protect us from harm. In that sense, worry can be seen as a survival mechanism, an evolutionary tool designed to keep us safe. Imagine this. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in environments full of real, tangible dangers, predators lurking in the wild, unpredictable weather patterns, and limited resources. In such conditions, the ability to foresee threats and plan accordingly was crucial for survival. Worrying about food shortages, shelter, or safety would have been adaptive. It would have motivated people to gather supplies, build stronger homes, or stay vigilant against predators. Fast forward to today, however, and the context has changed dramatically. Most of us no longer face immediate physical threats on a daily basis. Instead, our worries tend to center around abstract concerns, Things like finances, relationships, career success, health issues, or societal pressures. While these modern-day stresses are valid, they're often less urgent and more complex than the life or death scenarios faced by our ancestors. Yet our brains haven't fully caught up to this shift. They still respond to uncertainty and perceived threats with the same intensity, triggering the same fight or flight response that once helped us evade danger. This mismatch between our biology and our environment is a big reason why worry can feel so overwhelming. Our minds are wired to scan for potential problems, but in today's world, there's an endless supply of things to fret about. Social media bombards us with comparisons and bad news. Emails pile up faster than we can answer them. Deadlines loom over us like storm clouds. And beneath it all lies the constant hum of uncertainty, the nagging question of whether we'll ever truly have it all together. But here's the thing. While worry may have served a purpose in the past, it often becomes counterproductive in the present. Think about it. How many times have you worried about something that never actually happened? Studies suggest that up to 85% of the things we worry about either don't occur or turn out better than we expected. That means we're spending a significant amount of time and energy focusing on hypothetical scenarios that rarely materialize. So, why do we continue to worry despite knowing this? One reason is that worry provides a false sense of control. When we're uncertain about the future, worrying feels like a way to prepare ourselves emotionally. If we imagine every possible worst-case scenario, we think we'll be ready if it happens. The problem is this approach doesn't usually lead to effective preparation. It just leaves us feeling drained and anxious. Another factor is attachment. From a Buddhist perspective, much of our suffering stems from clinging to specific outcomes or desires. This concept of attachment applies directly to worry. For example, if you're deeply invested in getting a promotion at work, you might start obsessing over whether you'll get it. Your mind fixates on the outcome because you've attached your sense of self-worth or security to achieving it. Similarly, if you're afraid of losing someone you love, you might worry constantly about their well-being. Again, it's not the situation itself that causes the worry, it's your attachment to how things should be.
Resistance to change also plays a major role. Life is inherently unpredictable, yet we crave stability and certainty. We want to know what's coming next, how things will unfold, and whether everything will work out okay. When faced with ambiguity, worry steps in as a way to try to regain a sense of control. Unfortunately, this rarely works. In fact, resisting change only amplifies our discomfort. The more we cling to the familiar, the harder it becomes to adapt when life inevitably shifts in unexpected ways. Now let's talk about the emotional toll of chronic worrying. Have you ever noticed how worry seems to snowball? You start with one concern, and before long it spirals into multiple related fears. Maybe you begin by worrying about an upcoming presentation at work. Then you start thinking about whether your colleagues respect you. Next thing you know, you're questioning your entire career path. Sound familiar? This phenomenon is known as rumination, and it's a hallmark of anxiety. Rumination keeps us stuck in a loop of negative thinking, making it difficult to break free and focus on solutions. The good news is that understanding why we worry is the first step toward breaking free from it. Awareness gives us power. When we recognize the root causes of our worries, we can begin to address them directly rather than simply reacting emotionally. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I found myself constantly worrying about money. Even though I had enough to cover my basic needs, I couldn't shake the fear of not having enough in the future. I realized later that my worry wasn't really about finances, it was about security. I wanted to feel safe, stable, and in control. Once I understood that, I was able to focus on building financial habits that gave me peace of mind without obsessing over every dollar. You see, worry often disguises itself as problem solving, but they're not the same thing. Problem solving involves taking action to resolve an issue, while worry is repetitive thinking without resolution. So the question becomes, is your worry helping you solve anything, or is it just creating more tension? To answer that, ask yourself these questions. Whenever you notice worry creeping in, what am I really afraid of? Is this worry based on facts or assumptions? Can I take any concrete steps to address the situation right now? If the answer to the last question is yes, then shift your focus to action. For instance, if you're worried about a project deadline, create a plan to tackle it step by step. Break it down into smaller tasks, set realistic goals, and prioritize what needs to be done. Taking action, even small steps, can help alleviate the feeling of helplessness that often accompanies worry. On the other hand, if the answer is no, if there's nothing you can do right now to change the situation, remind yourself that worrying won't change the outcome. Trust that you'll handle whatever comes your way when the time arrives. This mindset shift requires practice, but it's incredibly liberating once you get the hang of it. One powerful exercise to try is labeling your thoughts. Whenever you catch yourself worrying, silently say, "Here's worry again." This simple act creates distance between you and your thoughts, allowing you to observe them objectively. It's like watching clouds drift across the sky. You notice them, but you don't grab onto them or try to push them away. By doing this, you begin to realize that thoughts are just mental events. They don't define you, nor do they dictate reality. Another helpful technique is reframing your perspective. Instead of viewing worry as a sign of weakness or failure, see it as a signal from your brain trying to protect you. Thank your mind for its efforts, but gently remind it that you're capable of handling whatever arises. This compassionate approach helps soften the intensity of worry and fosters a sense of empowerment. Remember, worry is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed with practice. Start small. Each time you catch yourself worrying unnecessarily, acknowledge it, label it, and gently redirect your attention to the present moment. Over time, this practice will help you rewire your brain to respond to uncertainty with curiosity rather than fear. Life is unpredictable, and that's part of what makes it beautiful. While we can't control everything, we can choose how we relate to the unknown. Instead of seeing uncertainty as a threat, we can view it as an opportunity, an invitation to grow, adapt, and trust ourselves. As we move into the next chapter, I invite you to reflect on your own relationship with worry. What patterns do you notice? What triggers your worries? And how do they affect your daily life? Keep these insights in mind as we continue exploring practical tools to help you let go of negativity and embrace greater peace of mind. Chapter 2: The Power of Awareness, Observing Your Thoughts. Welcome back to the Mindful Zone. In our last chapter, we explored why we worry and how understanding its roots can help us begin to loosen its grip. Now, as we move into Chapter 2, we're going to dive deeper into one of the most transformative tools for managing worry, awareness. Specifically, we'll focus on the practice of observing your thoughts, a cornerstone of mindfulness and meditation that has the power to shift your entire relationship with worry. Let's start by acknowledging something important. Thoughts are not inherently dangerous. They're simply mental events, fleeting images, words, or sensations that pass through our minds like clouds across the sky. The problem arises when we get caught up in them, mistaking them for reality or allowing them to dictate our emotions and actions. This is where awareness comes in. By cultivating awareness, we learn to step back from our thoughts and observe them without judgment. Think of it this way. Imagine you're sitting by a riverbank watching the water flow past. Occasionally leaves drift downstream, carried along by the current. You could reach out and grab one of those leaves, holding onto it tightly. But if you do, you'd miss seeing all the other leaves floating by. Alternatively, you could simply sit there, observing each leaf as it passes without interference. This metaphor perfectly captures the essence of mindful awareness. Our thoughts are like those leaves, they come and go naturally. When we hold on to a thought, especially a negative or worrisome one, we disrupt the natural flow of our mind,
We amplify its importance and give it more weight than it deserves. On the other hand, when we observe our thoughts without attachment, they lose their power over us. They become just another passing moment, nothing more. So, how do we develop this skill? How do we train ourselves to observe our thoughts rather than getting swept away by them? It starts with intentionality. Awareness isn't something that happens automatically. It's a muscle we need to strengthen through consistent practice. Let's break it down step by step. First, let's talk about what it means to observe your thoughts. Observing doesn't mean analyzing or trying to figure out why you're thinking a certain way. It also doesn't mean pushing thoughts away or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about noticing them objectively, almost as if you're an impartial witness. For example, if you notice yourself worrying about an upcoming event, instead of diving headfirst into the details of the worry, you might silently say to yourself, here's worry again. That's it. No judgment, no resistance, just acknowledgement. Why does this matter? Because when we label our thoughts, we create space between ourselves and them. This small act of recognition interrupts the automatic cycle of rumination. It reminds us that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of them. And once we realize this distinction, we regain a sense of agency. We stop being controlled by our thoughts and start relating to them consciously. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. That sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do it? Great question. One of the simplest ways to practice observing your thoughts is through meditation. Don't worry if you've never meditated before. We'll keep it accessible and beginner-friendly. All you need is a few minutes and a quiet place to sit. Here's a basic exercise to try. Find a comfortable position. You can sit on a chair, cross-legged on the floor, or even lie down if that feels better for you. Keep your spine straight but relaxed. Close your eyes gently and take a few slow, deep breaths. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Let your breathing settle into a natural rhythm. Bring your attention to your thoughts. Don't force anything. Just notice whatever arises. Maybe it's a memory, a plan for later, or a random image. Whatever it is, observe it without engaging with it. If you find yourself getting pulled into a thought, gently bring your focus back to observing. Silently label each thought as it comes up. For instance, you might think planning, worrying, daydreaming. Again, no judgment, just gentle labeling. Continue this process for 5-10 minutes or longer if you feel comfortable. When you first try this, you might be surprised by how busy your mind is. It's normal to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of thoughts racing through your head. In fact, many people report that their minds seem busier during meditation than usual. This is because, for the first time, they're paying close attention to their inner world. Over time, however, this busyness will settle down. With regular practice, you'll find it easier to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Beyond formal meditation, you can practice observing your thoughts throughout the day. Here's a technique called the thought pause. Whenever you notice yourself spiraling into worry or negativity, pause for a moment. Take a single deep breath, then silently ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Without judging or reacting, simply acknowledge the thought. Then, return your attention to the present moment. This simple exercise can interrupt cycles of rumination and bring you back to clarity. But why is awareness so powerful when it comes to dealing with worry? To answer that, let's consider the alternative. Without awareness, we live on autopilot, reacting impulsively to every thought and emotion that arises. When worry shows up, we immediately believe it's true and act accordingly. We might avoid situations, procrastinate, or lash out at others, all because we're operating from a place of unconscious reactivity. Awareness breaks this pattern. It gives us the opportunity to pause, reflect, and choose how we respond. For example, let's say you wake up feeling anxious about an upcoming meeting. Without awareness, you might spend hours obsessing over potential outcomes, imagining everything that could go wrong. With awareness, however, you recognize the anxiety for what it is, a temporary state. and decide whether it warrants action. Perhaps you prepare thoroughly for the meeting, addressing any legitimate concerns, or perhaps you realize the anxiety is unfounded and choose to let it go. Either way, you're responding intentionally rather than reactively. Another benefit of awareness is that it fosters self-compassion. Often, when we catch ourselves worrying excessively, we criticize ourselves for being irrational or weak. But awareness teaches us to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. Instead of berating yourself for having worried thoughts, you can offer yourself compassion. Remind yourself that everyone worries sometimes, that it's part of being human. This compassionate approach reduces the shame and guilt often associated with worry, making it easier to let go. Of course, developing awareness takes time and patience. There will be days when it feels effortless and others when it seems nearly impossible. That's okay. Remember, progress isn't linear. What matters most is showing up consistently, even if only for a few moments each day. Let me share a story that illustrates the transformative power of awareness. A few years ago, I worked with a client named Sarah who struggled with chronic anxiety. She described her mind as a tornado, constantly spinning with worries about her job, relationships, and health. At first, she found it difficult to sit still during meditation. Her thoughts felt chaotic and uncontrollable, and she doubted whether she'd ever find peace. But over time, something shifted. Through consistent practice, Sarah began to notice subtle changes. She started recognizing patterns in her thinking, for example, how certain triggers would spark specific worries. She learned to identify when her mind was spiraling and gently guide herself back to the present moment. Slowly but surely, the tornado inside her began to calm. While she still experienced anxiety occasionally, it no longer consumed her. Instead, she approached it with curiosity and compassion, knowing it would pass. Sarah's journey highlights an important truth. Awareness isn't about eliminating thoughts or emotions. It's about changing your relationship with them. Rather than fighting against worry, you learn to coexist with it peacefully. You realize that thoughts are transient. They arise, linger for a while, and eventually fade away. And in doing so, you free yourself from their grip. As we wrap up this chapter, I want to leave you with a final thought. Awareness is a gift, one that allows you to step outside the relentless chatter of your mind and connect with the stillness within. It's in this stillness that true peace resides. So as you go about your day, I invite you to experiment with observing your thoughts, notice what arises without judgment, and see what happens when you meet your mind with curiosity and kindness. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the Buddhist perspective on letting go of control and embracing impermanence. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater awareness and peace. Chapter 3, Letting Go of Control. The Buddhist perspective. In our previous chapters, we explored why we worry and how cultivating awareness can help us observe our thoughts with greater clarity. Now, as we move into Chapter 3, we're going to delve deeper into one of the most profound teachings from Buddhism, letting go of control. This principle is not only central to reducing worry, but also essential for finding peace in an unpredictable world. Let's begin by acknowledging something fundamental about human nature. We crave control. From the moment we wake up each day, we make countless decisions: what to wear, what to eat, how to prioritize tasks, all in an effort to shape our lives according to our desires. And while having some level of agency is important, the problem arises when we try to control things that are inherently beyond our grasp. Life, after all, is unpredictable. No matter how meticulously we plan or how hard we strive to maintain order, there will always be factors outside our influence. Weather patterns, other people's actions, unforeseen circumstances, and even our own health. Yet despite this reality, many of us cling to the illusion that we can micromanage every aspect of our existence. We believe that if we just work harder, prepare more thoroughly, or anticipate every possible outcome, we'll achieve certainty. Spoiler alert, we won't. This relentless pursuit of control often leads to frustration, anxiety, and exhaustion. When things don't go as planned, which they rarely do, we feel like failures. We blame ourselves for not being good enough or for somehow missing a crucial detail. But here's the truth. Life doesn't operate on a script. It's messy, chaotic, and beautifully imperfect. Trying to control it is like trying to hold on to water. It slips through your fingers, no matter how tightly you grip. Buddhism offers a radically different approach. Instead of fighting impermanence, the ever-changing nature of existence, it invites us to embrace it. One of the core teachings in Buddhism is the concept of anicca, which means impermanence. Everything in life is transient. Our emotions, relationships, careers, bodies, even the planet itself. Nothing lasts forever, including our problems. This idea might sound unsettling at first. After all, impermanence reminds us of loss, change, and uncertainty. But paradoxically, it's also incredibly liberating. When we accept that nothing is permanent, we stop clinging so desperately to outcomes. We learn to let go, not out of resignation, but out of trust. Trust that life has its own rhythm, its own wisdom, and that we don't need to force everything into alignment. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, easier said than done. How do we actually practice letting go of control? Isn't it scary to surrender, especially when so much feels uncertain? These are valid concerns. Letting go isn't about giving up or becoming passive. It's about shifting your mindset from resistance to acceptance, from fear to faith. To illustrate this, let's explore 3 key aspects of letting go inspired by Buddhist philosophy: understanding impermanence, releasing attachment, and trusting the flow of life. Understanding impermanence. Impermanence is everywhere if you look closely enough. Seasons change, flowers bloom and then wilt. Even the cells in your body regenerate constantly. Nothing stays the same. Not joy, not sorrow, not success, not failure. When we resist impermanence, we suffer. For example, imagine you've had an amazing vacation. You've spent weeks planning it, saving money and looking forward to it. Then, as the trip comes to an end, you start feeling sad because it's over. Your mind fixates on holding on to those happy moments, wishing they could last forever. But happiness, like everything else, is fleeting. Clinging to it only intensifies the pain of its departure. On the flip side, consider a difficult period in your life, a breakup, a job loss, or a health issue. During such times, it's natural to want the pain to disappear immediately. But suffering often stems from resisting the situation rather than accepting it. By reminding yourself that this too shall pass, you create space for healing and growth. A powerful way to practice embracing impermanence is through mindfulness of daily experiences. Pay attention to the little changes around you, the way sunlight shifts throughout the day, the ebb and flow of conversations, the rise and fall of your breath. Notice how each moment is unique and unrepeatable. Over time, this awareness helps you appreciate the present instead of obsessing over the past or future. Releasing attachment. Another cornerstone of letting go is releasing attachment. As we discussed earlier, much of our worry stems from clinging to specific outcomes, expectations, or desires. We attach our sense of worth, security, or happiness to external factors: getting a promotion, being liked by others, achieving a certain goal. When these attachments aren't met, we feel disappointed, angry, or anxious. Buddhism teaches that true freedom lies in non-attachment. This doesn't mean detaching from life or becoming indifferent. Rather, it means engaging fully with the world without clinging to results. Think of it like planting a garden. You prepare the soil, sow the seeds, water them, and nurture the plants. But ultimately, whether they grow depends on factors beyond your control: the weather, pests, soil quality. Non-attachment allows you to enjoy the process of gardening without obsessing over the harvest. One practical exercise for practicing non-attachment is setting intentions rather than rigid goals. For instance, instead of saying, "I must get promoted within 6 months," you might say, "I intend to give my best effort and learn as much as I can in my role." This subtle shift reframes your focus from external validation to internal growth. It reduces pressure and opens you up to unexpected opportunities. Trusting the flow of life. Finally, letting go requires trusting the flow of life. This can be challenging, especially if you're someone who likes structure and predictability. But trust doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or ignoring red flags. It means recognizing that life unfolds in ways we can't always foresee, and that's okay. Think of a river. Water flows effortlessly, adapting to obstacles and finding its path naturally. Sometimes it moves quickly, other times it slows down. It doesn't fight against rocks or bends, it simply adjusts. In the same way, we can navigate life with flexibility and grace, trusting that challenges are temporary and growth often emerges from discomfort. A helpful visualization for cultivating trust is imagining yourself as a leaf floating downstream. Allow life to carry you where it needs to, knowing that you have the resilience to handle whatever arises. When worries surface, remind yourself, "I don't need to control this. I can trust myself to adapt." Practical steps to let go of control. Now that we've covered the theory behind letting go, let's talk about how to apply it in your daily life. Here are a few exercises to try. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on moments when you tried to control something unnecessarily. What happened? Did it bring you peace, or did it increase stress? Use this reflection to identify patterns and areas where you can practice letting go. Breath awareness. Whenever you feel the urge to micromanage a situation, pause and take 5 deep breaths. Focus on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This simple act creates space between you and the impulse to control. Affirmations. Repeat affirmations that reinforce trust and surrender, such as, "I release what I cannot control. Everything happens in its own time. I am safe even in uncertainty." Journaling. Write about a current situation causing you stress. Ask yourself, what am I trying to control here? What would happen if I let go? How can I support myself without forcing outcomes? Nature connection. Spend time in nature observing its cycles. Waves crashing, wind rustling leaves, birds flying freely. Nature embodies impermanence and flow, offering a tangible reminder of life's beauty and unpredictability. Personal story. Learning to surrender. Let me share a personal story that illustrates the power of letting go. A few years ago, I was working on a major project that I cared deeply about. I poured my heart and soul into it, determined to make it perfect. But no matter how hard I worked, setbacks kept arising. Delays, miscommunications, technical issues. Frustrated and exhausted, I found myself spiraling into worry, convinced that the project would fail unless I controlled every detail. One evening, after yet another setback, I decided to meditate. As I sat quietly, a thought arose. You're trying to hold on to sand. Suddenly I realized how futile my efforts were. No matter how tightly I gripped, the grains of sand would slip away anyway. That night I made a conscious decision to let go, not of the project itself, but of my attachment to the outcome. I focused on doing my best in the present moment, trusting that everything would unfold as it needed to. Guess what? The project turned out better than I expected. More importantly, I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the best thing we can do is step back and allow life to take its course. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to reflect on where in your life you might be holding too tightly. Are you clinging to a particular outcome, a relationship, a version of yourself? Can you soften your grip and trust the flow of life? Remember, letting go isn't about weakness, it's about strength. It takes courage to release control and embrace uncertainty. In the next chapter, we'll explore the transformative power of gratitude and how shifting your focus to the positive can reduce worry and enhance your life. Thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and freedom. Chapter 4: Cultivating Gratitude, Shifting Focus to the Positive. In our previous chapter, we explored the Buddhist perspective on letting go of control and embracing impermanence, a practice that helps us navigate life's uncertainties with greater ease. Now, as we move into Chapter 4, we're going to focus on another powerful tool for reducing worry and enhancing well-being: gratitude. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you or feeling appreciative when something good happens. It's a profound shift in perspective, a way of seeing the world through a lens of abundance rather than scarcity. When we cultivate gratitude, we train our minds to notice what's working, what's beautiful, and what's meaningful in our lives. This simple yet transformative practice can help us break free from the grip of negativity and reconnect with joy, even amidst challenges. Before we dive deeper, let's acknowledge something important. Gratitude isn't about ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. Life is messy, and there will always be moments of pain, frustration, and uncertainty. But here's the key insight. Gratitude doesn't deny these realities. Instead, it coexists with them, offering a counterbalance that reminds us of the goodness still present, even in tough times. Think of it this way. Imagine standing in a dark room with a single candle lit. The darkness represents your worries, fears, or struggles, while the light symbolizes gratitude. You can't make the entire room bright overnight, but you can nurture that flame, allowing it to grow stronger over time. With consistent effort, the light begins to illuminate more of the space, pushing back against the shadows. Gratitude works in much the same way. It doesn't erase negativity, but it shifts your focus, helping you see possibilities beyond the immediate challenges. Now, let's explore why gratitude is so effective at reducing worry and improving mental health. Research has shown that practicing gratitude activates areas of the brain associated with happiness and contentment. It also reduces activity in regions linked to stress and anxiety. Over time, this rewires your neural pathways, making it easier to notice positive aspects of your life and respond to adversity with resilience. But how do we actually cultivate gratitude? How do we shift from focusing on what's lacking to appreciating what we already have? Let's break it down step by step, exploring both the philosophy behind gratitude and practical strategies to integrate it into your daily routine. Why gratitude matters. At its core, gratitude is an antidote to dissatisfaction. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. Social media bombards us with curated highlight reels of other people's lives, making us feel inadequate or envious. Advertisements constantly remind us of what we need to buy to be happy, and societal pressures push us to chase bigger, better, faster achievements. This relentless pursuit of more leaves little room for contentment. We become so focused on what we lack that we fail to appreciate what we already possess. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by redirecting our attention inward. Instead of looking outward for validation or fulfillment, we begin to recognize the richness of our own lives, the small joys, the supportive relationships, the everyday blessings that often go unnoticed. Gratitude also fosters connection. When we express appreciation for others, whether through words, gestures, or acts of kindness, we strengthen our bonds with them. Studies show that gratitude enhances empathy, builds trust, and promotes pro-social behavior. It reminds us that we're not alone, that we're part of a larger web of interdependence. Perhaps most importantly, gratitude teaches us to value the present moment. So often, worry pulls us out of the now, dragging us into regrets about the past or fears about the future. Gratitude anchors us in the here and now, encouraging us to savor what's right in front of us. The science of gratitude. If you're skeptical about the power of gratitude, consider the science behind it. Over the past few decades, researchers have conducted numerous studies demonstrating its benefits. For example, a study published in the journal Psychological Science found that participants who wrote letters expressing gratitude experienced significant increases in happiness and reductions in depressive symptoms. Another study showed that individuals who kept a daily gratitude journal reported higher levels of optimism and physical health compared to those who didn't. Neuroscientists have discovered that practicing gratitude activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters responsible for feelings of pleasure and well-being. These findings underscore a crucial point. Gratitude isn't just a warm and fuzzy concept, it's a scientifically validated tool for improving mental and emotional health. Practical strategies for cultivating gratitude. Now that we understand why gratitude matters, let's talk about how to incorporate it into your life. Below are several techniques designed to help you develop a gratitude mindset starting today. Keep a gratitude journal. 1. Of the simplest and most effective ways to practice gratitude is by keeping a journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't need to be monumental achievements. They could be as ordinary as a delicious meal, a kind word from a friend, or a moment of sunshine. The goal is to train your brain to actively search for positives, no matter how small. To deepen the practice, try adding details. Instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my family," elaborate, "I'm grateful for the laughter I shared with my sister during dinner tonight. Her humor always lifts my spirits." Specificity makes the exercise more meaningful and reinforces the habit. Express appreciation to others. Gratitude isn't just a solo practice, it's also a relational one. Take time to thank the people in your life who matter to you. This could mean sending a heartfelt text, writing a note, or simply telling someone face-to-face how much you appreciate them. Be specific about what you're thanking them for. For instance, instead of saying, "Thanks for being there," say, "Thank you for listening to me vent last night. Your support means the world to me." Not only does this strengthen your relationships, but it also amplifies your own sense of gratitude. Expressing appreciation creates a feedback loop, reinforcing positivity for both you and the recipient. Practice gratitude during difficult times. It's easy to feel grateful when life is going smoothly. The real challenge comes during tough times. Yet, it's precisely in these moments that gratitude can be most powerful. When faced with adversity, ask yourself, what can I still be thankful for? For example, if you've recently lost your job, you might focus on the skills you've gained, the opportunity to explore new directions, or the support of loved ones. If you're dealing with illness, you might appreciate the care you're receiving or the strength you've shown in coping. Gratitude during hardship doesn't dismiss pain. It acknowledges it while reminding you of your capacity to endure and grow. Use visual reminders. Sometimes we forget to pause and reflect on what we're grateful for. To combat this, create visual reminders around your environment. Place sticky notes with affirmations like, "I am grateful" on your mirror, fridge, or computer screen. Use photos of cherished memories as desktop wallpapers or phone backgrounds. Surround yourself with symbols of gratitude to keep it top of mind throughout the day. Incorporate gratitude into meditation. Meditation provides a wonderful opportunity to deepen your gratitude practice. Begin by settling into a comfortable position and taking a few deep breaths. Then, silently bring to mind 3 things you're grateful for. Picture each one vividly, allowing yourself to fully experience the emotions associated with it: joy, warmth, love. Spend a minute or 2 immersing yourself in these feelings before gently returning to the present moment. Adopt a daily ritual. Make gratitude a consistent part of your routine. For example, you might start or end your day by reflecting on what went well. Some people find it helpful to pair gratitude with existing habits, such as brushing their teeth or drinking morning coffee. Every time you perform the habit, take a moment to mentally list one thing you're thankful for. Over time, this ritual becomes second nature. Shifting from scarcity to abundance. A common barrier to gratitude is the mindset of scarcity, the belief that there's never enough. Whether it's money, time, love, or opportunities, scarcity thinking convinces us that we're perpetually lacking. This mentality fuels worry, envy, and dissatisfaction, keeping us trapped in a cycle of unhappiness. Gratitude flips this script by fostering a sense of abundance. When we focus on what we do have instead of what we lack, we realize how rich our lives truly are. Consider this analogy. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents a burden or complaint. Now imagine setting the backpack down and picking up a lighter bag filled with treasures. That's what gratitude does. It lightens your load and fills your heart with joy. To shift from scarcity to abundance, experiment with reframing your thoughts. For instance, instead of thinking, "I don't have enough money," try, "I have enough to meet my basic needs and I'm working toward financial stability." Instead of dwelling on mistakes or failures, celebrate your progress and lessons learned. These subtle shifts in language and perspective can profoundly impact your outlook. Personal story. Finding gratitude in loss. Let me share a story that highlights the transformative power of gratitude. Several years ago, I went through a painful breakup. At first, I was consumed by sadness, anger, and self-doubt. My mind fixated on everything I had lost: the companionship, the shared dreams, the sense of belonging. One day, a close friend encouraged me to write a letter of gratitude, not to my ex, but to myself. She suggested I focus on what I'd gained from the relationship, regardless of how it ended. Reluctantly, I gave it a try. As I wrote, surprising insights emerged. I realized I'd grown more confident, more compassionate, and more resilient because of the experience. I appreciated the memories we'd created together and the lessons I'd learned about love and communication. By the end of the letter, tears streamed down my face. But they were tears of healing, not sorrow. That exercise marked a turning point for me. It didn't erase the pain, but it helped me reframe the narrative. Instead of viewing the breakup as purely negative, I began to see it as a catalyst for growth. Gratitude allowed me to reclaim my power and step forward with hope. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on how gratitude shows up in your life. What are you thankful for right now? How can you nurture a mindset of abundance even in challenging circumstances? Remember, gratitude is a practice. It takes time and effort to cultivate, but the rewards are immeasurable. In the next chapter, we'll explore breathing techniques to calm anxiety and anchor yourself in the present moment. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and positivity. Chapter 5, Breathing Through Anxiety. Simple Techniques. In our previous chapter, we explored the transformative power of gratitude and how shifting your focus to the positive can help reduce worry and enhance well-being. Now, as we move into Chapter 5, we're going to dive into one of the most accessible and effective tools for managing anxiety: breathwork. Breath is life. It's something we all share, something that connects us to each other and to the present moment. Yet, despite its simplicity, the act of breathing consciously holds incredible power. When we feel overwhelmed by worry or stress, our breath often becomes shallow, rapid, or irregular. By intentionally slowing down and deepening our breathing, we send a signal to our nervous system that it's safe to relax. This simple practice not only calms the body, but also clears the mind, creating space for clarity and peace. In this chapter, we'll explore why breathwork is so effective at reducing anxiety, delve into specific techniques you can use anytime, anywhere, and discuss how to integrate these practices into your daily routine. Whether you're new to mindfulness or already familiar with meditation, these tools will empower you to navigate challenging moments with greater ease. Why breathwork works. To understand why breathwork is so powerful, let's take a closer look at the connection between breath and the nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system has two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and the parasympathetic nervous system, PNS. The SNS governs the fight or flight response, the body's reaction to perceived threats. When activated, it increases heart rate, tightens muscles, and prepares you to either confront danger or flee from it. While this response was crucial for survival in ancient times, in modern life it often gets triggered unnecessarily by non-life-threatening stressors like work deadlines, traffic jams, or social conflicts. The PNS, on the other hand, governs the rest and digest response. It slows your heart rate, relaxes your muscles, and promotes feelings of calm and safety. One of the fastest ways to activate the PNS is through slow, deliberate breathing. When you breathe deeply and rhythmically, you stimulate the vagus nerve, a key component of the PNS, sending a message to your brain that it's time to unwind. This physiological shift is immediate and profound. Within just a few breaths, you can go from feeling tense and anxious to centered and grounded. And because breath is always available to you, no matter where you are or what you're doing, it's an incredibly versatile tool for managing stress. But breathwork isn't just about calming the body, it also quiets the mind. Anxiety often manifests as racing thoughts, spiraling worries, and a sense of being mentally scattered. Focusing on your breath acts as an anchor, pulling your attention away from those chaotic patterns and bringing it back to the present moment. Each inhale and exhale becomes a reminder that you are here, now, and capable of handling whatever arises. Simple breathing techniques to try. Now that we've covered the science behind breathwork, let's dive into some practical techniques you can use to calm anxiety. These exercises are designed to be easy to follow, requiring no special equipment or prior experience. You can practice them sitting, standing, or lying down, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Box breathing, 4-4-4-4 method. Box breathing is a simple yet highly effective technique used by everyone from athletes to Navy SEALs. Here's how it works. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you'd like. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Feel your belly expand as you fill your lungs with air. Hold your breath for another count of 4. Imagine holding the breath gently without straining. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 4. Let go completely, releasing any tension in your body. Pause for a final count of 4 before beginning the cycle again. Repeat this process for 5 and 10 rounds, or longer if you have time. Box breathing balances your nervous system, promoting both relaxation and alertness. 4-7-8. Breathing developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, the 4-7-8 technique is particularly helpful for falling asleep or calming intense emotions. Here's how to do it. Place the tip of your tongue behind your upper front teeth, where it will stay throughout the exercise. Exhale completely through your mouth, making a whooshing sound. Inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Exhale audibly through your mouth for a count of 8. Complete 4 full cycles, focusing on the rhythm of your breath. Over time, this technique can help regulate your sleep patterns and reduce overall stress levels. Diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing. Many people breathe shallowly, using only the upper part of their lungs. Diaphragmatic breathing engages the diaphragm, allowing for deeper, more efficient breaths. To try it, place one hand on your chest and the other on your abdomen. Inhale deeply through your nose, ensuring that the hand on your abdomen rises while the hand on your chest remains still. Exhale fully through your mouth, feeling your abdomen fall inward. Practice this for several minutes, paying attention to the rise and fall of your belly. Belly breathing activates the PNS and helps release physical tension stored in the body. Alternate nostril breathing, Nidhi Shodhana. Rooted in yogic traditions, alternate nostril breathing balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain, fostering mental clarity and emotional stability. Here's how to do it. Use your thumb to close your right nostril and inhale deeply through your left nostril. At the top of the inhale, close your left nostril with your ring finger and release your thumb, exhaling through your right nostril. Inhale through your right nostril, then switch sides again, closing your right nostril and exhaling through your left. Continue alternating for 5-10 minutes. This technique is especially useful for quieting overactive thoughts and preparing for meditation. Counted breathing. If you find yourself distracted or restless, counted breathing can help bring focus back to the present moment. Simply choose a number, say 5, and coordinate your breath with it. Inhale for a count of 5. Hold your breath for a count of 5. Exhale for a count of 5. Adjust the timing based on what feels comfortable for you. Counted breathing creates structure and rhythm, helping to steady both body and mind, integrating breathwork into daily life. While formal breathing exercises are incredibly beneficial, you don't need to set aside dedicated time to reap the rewards of conscious breathing. There are countless opportunities throughout the day to incorporate mindful breaths into your routine. For example, take 3 deep breaths before answering an email or phone call. Practice diaphragmatic breathing while waiting in line or stuck in traffic. Pair breathwork with transitions, such as arriving home after work or waking up in the morning, to create moments of pause and reflection. You can also combine breathwork with visualization or affirmations. As you inhale, imagine drawing in calmness, peace, or strength. As you exhale, visualize releasing tension, fear, or negativity. Adding this layer of intention amplifies the benefits of the practice. Overcoming resistance to breathwork. If you're new to breathwork, you might initially feel skeptical or even uncomfortable. Some people report feeling lightheaded or dizzy when they first start practicing deep breathing. Others struggle to maintain focus, finding their minds wander constantly. These experiences are normal and temporary. Here are a few tips to overcome common challenges. Start small. Begin with just 1 or 2 minutes of focused breathing and gradually increase the duration as you become more comfortable. Be patient with yourself. Like any skill, breathwork improves with consistent practice. Don't expect perfection right away. Experiment with different techniques. What works for one person may not resonate with another. Find what feels natural and enjoyable for you. Practice regularly. Even a few minutes a day can make a significant difference over time. Consistency is key. Personal story: finding calm in chaos. Let me share a story that illustrates the impact of breathwork in real-life situations. A few years ago, I found myself in the middle of a particularly stressful period at work. Deadlines were piling up, communication breakdowns were causing friction among team members, and my own self-doubt was amplifying the pressure. One afternoon, after a heated meeting, I retreated to a quiet corner of the office, feeling overwhelmed and on edge. I remembered the box breathing technique I'd learned during a mindfulness workshop months earlier. Desperate for relief, I decided to give it a try. Sitting upright in my chair, I closed my eyes and began inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and pausing for 4. At first, my mind resisted. I kept thinking about unfinished tasks and looming responsibilities. But as I continued, something shifted. My shoulders relaxed, my jaw unclenched, and the frantic chatter in my head began to subside. By the end of 5 minutes, I felt transformed. Not only had my physical symptoms of anxiety diminished, but I also regained a sense of perspective. The problems hadn't disappeared, but I felt equipped to face them with renewed clarity and composure. That experience solidified my belief in the power of breathwork, not as a quick fix, but as a reliable tool for navigating life's inevitable ups and downs. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to experiment with the techniques we've discussed. Notice how each one affects your body and mind. Pay attention to subtle shifts in your energy, mood, and thought patterns. Remember, breathwork is a lifelong practice, one that evolves and deepens over time. In the next chapter, we'll explore the concept of embracing imperfection and letting go of perfectionism, a mindset shift that can dramatically reduce stress and enhance self-compassion. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and resilience. Chapter 6. Embracing imperfection, letting go of perfectionism. In our previous chapter, we explored how breathwork can help you calm anxiety and anchor yourself in the present moment. Now, as we move into chapter 6, we're going to tackle a topic that affects so many of us, but is often overlooked: perfectionism. Perfectionism, the relentless pursuit of flawlessness, is something many people wear like a badge of honor. It's seen as a sign of dedication, ambition, or high standards. But beneath its polished surface lies a darker truth. Perfectionism is a major source of stress, dissatisfaction, and self-criticism. It keeps us stuck in cycles of worry, fear of failure, and never-ending self-judgment. In this chapter, we'll explore why perfectionism holds us back, how it contributes to worry and unhappiness, and most importantly, how embracing imperfection can set us free. Drawing from Buddhist teachings, mindfulness practices, and real-life examples, we'll uncover practical ways to let go of perfectionism and cultivate a healthier, more compassionate relationship with ourselves. Why we strive for perfection. To understand why perfectionism is so pervasive, we need to look at its roots. At its core, perfectionism stems from a desire for control and validation. We believe that if we achieve perfection, if we do everything right, we'll earn approval, love, success, or security. This belief is often shaped by societal expectations, cultural norms, or early experiences in childhood. For example, growing up in an environment where mistakes were criticized or achievements were overly praised can condition us to equate our worth with performance. Over time, this mindset becomes ingrained, leading us to tie our identity to external measures of success. Perfectionism also serves as a defense mechanism. By striving for flawlessness, we attempt to shield ourselves from criticism, rejection, or failure. We think, if I'm perfect, no one can judge me. But here's the irony: the harder we try to avoid imperfection, the more pressure we put on ourselves, and the more vulnerable we become to disappointment. The problem with perfectionism isn't just that it sets unrealistic standards, it's that it blinds us to the beauty of imperfection. Life is inherently messy, unpredictable, and flawed, yet instead of embracing these qualities, we fight against them, believing they're signs of weakness or inadequacy. The cost of perfectionism. Perfectionism comes with a steep price tag. Here are some of the ways it impacts our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Chronic stress and anxiety. When we demand perfection, every task becomes high stakes. A simple email might feel like a make or break moment. A minor mistake feels catastrophic. This constant pressure keeps our nervous system on edge, triggering chronic stress and anxiety. Procrastination and paralysis. Ironically, perfectionists often struggle with procrastination. Why? Because the fear of not doing something perfectly can paralyze us. We delay starting projects, avoid taking risks, or give up altogether when things don't meet our impossibly high standards. Burnout, the relentless pursuit of excellence, leaves little room for rest, play, or self-care. Perfectionists tend to push themselves to exhaustion, sacrificing their health and happiness in the process. Over time, this leads to burnout, a state of emotional, mental, and physical depletion. Damaged relationships. Perfectionism doesn't just affect us individually, it spills over into our relationships. When we hold others to the same unattainable standards, we create tension, resentment, and conflict. Even worse, we may isolate ourselves out of fear of being judged or rejected. Low self-worth. Now, no matter how much we achieve, perfectionism leaves us feeling inadequate. There's always another goal to chase, another standard to meet. This endless cycle erodes our confidence and reinforces feelings of unworthiness. The beauty of imperfection. Now let's shift gears and talk about the antidote to perfectionism. Embracing imperfection. Far from being a weakness, imperfection is a source of strength, creativity, and authenticity. It reminds us that we're human, that making mistakes, facing challenges, and evolving over time are all part of the journey. One of my favorite metaphors for imperfection comes from the Japanese art of kintsugi. Kintsugi involves repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer, transforming cracks and flaws into beautiful, unique designs. Rather than hiding the damage, kintsugi celebrates it, honoring the object's history and resilience. This philosophy applies beautifully to our lives. Our cracks, our failures, vulnerabilities, and imperfections are not something to be ashamed of. They're proof that we've lived, learned, and grown. When we embrace them, we open ourselves up to deeper connections, greater creativity, and a more fulfilling existence. How to let go of perfectionism. Letting go of perfectionism isn't easy. It requires patience, courage, and consistent effort. Below are several strategies to help you release the grip of perfectionism and embrace imperfection instead. Challenge all or nothing. Thinking perfectionists often operate in extremes. If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. To counteract this mindset, practice reframing your thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, I messed up this presentation, say, I gave my best effort under challenging circumstances. Instead of saying, this project has to be flawless, remind yourself, progress matters more than perfection. Over time, these small shifts will help you adopt a more balanced perspective. Set realistic expectations. Take a hard look at the standards you've set for yourself. Are they achievable? Are they aligned with your values? Often we impose arbitrary rules without realizing it. By setting realistic, flexible goals, you reduce unnecessary pressure and create space for growth. Celebrate effort, not outcomes. Focus less on results and more on the process. Did you show up? Did you try your best? If so, that's worth celebrating. Acknowledge your efforts regardless of the outcome. I practice self-compassion. Self-compassion is the opposite of perfectionism. It involves treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and acceptance, especially during difficult times. When you make a mistake, instead of berating yourself, offer words of encouragement. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this? Embrace mistakes as teachers. Mistakes aren't failures, they're opportunities to grow. Each misstep teaches you something valuable about yourself, your skills, or your approach. The next time you stumble, ask yourself, what can I take away from this experience? How can I use it to improve moving forward? Focus on progress, not perfection, remember. Progress is nonlinear. Some days you'll take giant leaps forward, other days you'll feel like you're standing still. Both are part of the process. Celebrate incremental improvements, knowing that each step brings you closer to your goals. Surround yourself with imperfect role models. Seek inspiration from people who embody authenticity and vulnerability. Whether it's a friend, mentor, or public figure, surround yourself with individuals who model the courage to be imperfect. Their stories will remind you that greatness doesn't require flawlessness. Mindfulness practices for letting go of perfectionism. Mindfulness offers powerful tools for releasing perfectionism and cultivating self-acceptance. Here are a few exercises to try. Body scan. Meditation log. Lie down or sit comfortably and bring your attention to different parts of your body, starting from your toes and working upward. Notice any areas of tension or discomfort without judgment. This practice helps you reconnect with your physical self, grounding you in the present moment and reminding you that you're enough exactly as you are. Gratitude for flaws. Spend a few minutes reflecting on aspects of yourself that you typically criticize. Then, reframe them as strengths or sources of uniqueness. For example, if you dislike being overly sensitive, recognize that sensitivity allows you to empathize deeply with others. Write down these reframed qualities and revisit them whenever you need a boost of self-compassion. Loving kindness. Meditation. This practice involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill toward yourself and others. Start with, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be at peace. Gradually extend these wishes to loved ones, acquaintances, and even people you find challenging. Loving kindness meditation fosters compassion and reduces self-criticism. personal story, learning to be enough. Let me share a story that illustrates the transformative power of embracing imperfection. Early in my career, I was consumed by perfectionism. Every article I wrote had to be meticulously researched, every email crafted with precision, every decision agonized over until it felt just right. While this approach earned me praise from colleagues, it came at a cost. I was exhausted, anxious, and constantly dissatisfied. One day, a mentor pulled me aside and said something I'll never forget. "You don't have to be perfect to be good enough." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. For years, I'd been chasing an unattainable ideal, believing that anything less than perfection meant failure. But my mentor's comment made me realize that excellence and imperfection could coexist. I began experimenting with letting go, not lowering my standards, but loosening my grip on them. I allowed myself to submit drafts before they were perfect, to delegate tasks instead of micromanaging, and to admit when I didn't have all the answers. Slowly but surely, I noticed a change. My stress levels decreased, my creativity flourished, and I started enjoying my work again. Most importantly, I felt freer, lighter, and more at peace with myself. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on your own relationship with perfectionism. Where does it show up in your life? How does it serve you, and how does it hold you back? What would it feel like to let go of the need to be perfect and simply be enough? In the next chapter, we'll explore the importance of compassion for yourself and others, and how it can transform your inner world and your relationships. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and authenticity. Chapter 7: Compassion for Yourself and Others. In our previous chapter, we explored how embracing imperfection can free us from the grip of perfectionism, allowing us to live with greater authenticity and ease. Now, as we move into Chapter 7, we're going to delve into one of the most profound and transformative practices available to us: compassion. Compassion is the heart's response to suffering, our own or someone else's. It's the ability to recognize pain, empathize with it, and take action to alleviate it. While empathy allows us to feel what others are feeling, compassion goes a step further by motivating us to help. And when directed inward, it becomes self-compassion, a vital ingredient for mental and emotional well-being. In this chapter, we'll explore why compassion matters, how it reduces worry and enhances resilience, and practical ways to cultivate it in your daily life. Whether you're navigating personal challenges or seeking to deepen your connections with others, compassion offers a path toward healing, growth, and joy. Why compassion matters. At its core, compassion is about connection. Human beings are wired to belong, to feel seen, heard, and valued. Yet many of us struggle with feelings of isolation, inadequacy, or disconnection. We criticize ourselves harshly, compare ourselves to others, and fear vulnerability. These patterns not only perpetuate worry, but also prevent us from experiencing the fullness of life. Compassion disrupts these cycles by fostering understanding, acceptance, and love. When we approach ourselves and others with kindness, we create a safe space for growth and transformation. Instead of being consumed by fear or judgment, we open ourselves up to possibility and grace. From a neuroscience perspective, compassion activates regions of the brain associated with care, empathy, and positive emotions. It reduces levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, while increasing oxytocin, the bonding hormone, promoting feelings of calm, trust, and safety. Over time, practicing compassion rewires your brain, making it easier to respond to challenges with resilience and warmth. But compassion isn't just beneficial for individuals. It has ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, inspire others to pay it forward, creating a chain reaction of goodwill. Imagine the impact of a single smile, a thoughtful gesture, or a listening ear. Each act plants seeds of hope and healing in the world. Self-compassion, the foundation of inner peace. Before we can truly extend compassion to others, we must first learn to offer it to ourselves. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same care and understanding you'd give to a dear friend. It means acknowledging your struggles without judgment, recognizing your shared humanity, and taking steps to nurture your well-being. Unfortunately, many of us find it easier to be kind to others than to ourselves. We hold ourselves to impossibly high standards, berate ourselves for mistakes, and dismiss our needs in favor of pleasing others. This lack of self-compassion fuels anxiety, self-doubt, and burnout. So, how do we cultivate self-compassion? Below are several strategies to help you start building a more compassionate relationship with yourself. Talk to yourself like a friend. When faced with difficulty, notice how you speak to yourself. Are you harsh and critical, or gentle and supportive? Try rephrasing your inner dialogue using language you'd use with a loved one. For example, instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," say, "This is tough, but I'm doing my best." Instead of thinking, "I should have known better," remind yourself, everyone makes mistakes. It's part of learning. Acknowledge your shared humanity. One of the pillars of self-compassion is recognizing that suffering is universal. You're not alone in your struggles. Everyone experiences pain, uncertainty, and setbacks. Remind yourself, this is hard, but it's part of being human. This simple realization reduces feelings of isolation and fosters connection. Practice mindful awareness. Mindfulness helps you stay present with your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. When you notice feelings of shame, guilt, or frustration arising, acknowledge them without judgment. Silently say, "This is a moment of suffering," and allow yourself to feel whatever arises. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience. Engage in acts of self-care, Compassion isn't just about changing your mindset, it's also about taking concrete actions to support your well-being. This might include setting boundaries, prioritizing rest, pursuing hobbies, or seeking professional help when needed. Remember, caring for yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. Write a self-compassion letter. If you're struggling with self-criticism, try writing a letter to yourself from the perspective of a compassionate friend. Address your challenges honestly, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. For instance, "Dear," your name, "I know you've been feeling overwhelmed lately, and that's okay. You're carrying a lot right now, but you're stronger than you realize. Be patient with yourself. You're doing the best you can." Revisit this letter whenever you need a reminder of your worth. Extending compassion to others. Once you've begun cultivating self-compassion, you can expand your practice to include others. Extending compassion outward strengthens relationships, fosters community, and creates a sense of purpose. Here are some ways to bring more compassion into your interactions. Listen. Deeply true compassion begins with listening, not just hearing words, but tuning into emotions, body language, and underlying needs. When someone shares their story, resist the urge to interrupt, judge, or offer unsolicited advice. Simply be present, holding space for their experience. Offer kind words. A few kind words can brighten someone's day or even change their life. Compliment a colleague's effort, thank a friend for their support, or express appreciation for a stranger's kindness. These small gestures remind people that they matter. Perform random acts of kindness. Acts of kindness don't have to be grand gestures. They can be as simple as holding the door open, buying coffee for the person behind you, or sending a thoughtful text. Look for opportunities to spread positivity wherever you go. Practice forgiveness. Holding on to anger or resentment weighs heavily on the heart. While forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, it does mean releasing the grip that past hurts have on you. Start by forgiving minor offenses, gradually working towards larger ones. Volunteer your time. Giving back to your community is one of the most powerful ways to practice compassion. Whether it's volunteering at a shelter, mentoring a student, or participating in environmental cleanups, contributing to something larger than yourself fosters gratitude and connection. The ripple effect of compassion. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is its ability to multiply. When you show kindness to someone, it inspires them to do the same for others. This ripple effect creates waves of positivity that extend far beyond your immediate circle. Consider this. A study conducted by researchers at the University of California found that witnessing an act of kindness increases the likelihood of participants performing their own kind deeds. Even indirect exposure, such as hearing about someone else's generosity, can spark similar behaviors. This phenomenon highlights the contagious nature of compassion, proving that small actions can lead to big changes. But here's the catch. Compassion isn't always easy. It requires vulnerability, courage, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. There will be times when extending compassion feels inconvenient, uncomfortable, or even risky. Yet these moments are precisely when compassion matters most. They challenge us to rise above fear and choose love instead. Personal story. A lesson in compassion. Let me share a story that deepened my understanding of compassion. Several years ago, I was leading a workshop on mindfulness when a participant approached me after the session. She confided that she'd been struggling with depression and felt completely disconnected from her family and friends. Despite her efforts to reach out, she kept hitting walls of misunderstanding and judgment. As she spoke, I could see the pain in her eyes, the weight of loneliness and shame. My instinct was to offer solutions, to reassure her that things would get better, but instead, I chose to listen. I held her gaze, nodded occasionally, and let her voice fill the silence. When she finished, I said, "Thank you for sharing this with me. I can only imagine how hard it must be to carry all of this. Please know that you're not alone. I'm here for you." Her face softened and tears welled up in her eyes. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "No one has ever said that to me before." That moment stayed with me long after the workshop ended. It reminded me that sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is simply show up, without fixing, advising, or trying to make everything okay. Presence itself is a form of love. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to reflect on how compassion shows up in your life. How do you treat yourself during difficult times? How do you respond to the struggles of others? What small steps can you take today to nurture more kindness and understanding in your world? In the next chapter, we'll explore how to find joy in the present moment, a practice that brings lightness, gratitude, and wonder into everyday experiences. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and connection. Chapter 8. Finding joy in the present moment. In our previous chapter, we explored the transformative power of compassion for ourselves and others, and how it can heal wounds, strengthen relationships, and create a ripple effect of kindness. Now, as we move into Chapter 8, we're going to focus on one of the most accessible yet profound ways to reduce worry and enhance well-being, finding joy in the present moment. Joy is not something reserved for special occasions or grand achievements. It's available to us every single day, hidden in plain sight, in the taste of fresh fruit, the sound of birdsong, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Yet so often, we miss these moments because we're distracted by worries about the future or regrets about the past. By learning to savor the present, we unlock a reservoir of happiness that's always within reach. In this chapter, we'll delve into why finding joy in the present moment is essential for mental and emotional health, explore practical techniques to cultivate mindfulness, and discover how small shifts in perspective can transform ordinary experiences into extraordinary ones. Whether you're juggling responsibilities, navigating challenges, or simply looking to deepen your appreciation for life, these practices will help you reconnect with the beauty of now. Why the present moment matters. To understand why focusing on the present moment is so powerful, let's first examine where worry typically resides. Worry thrives in two places, the past and the future. We ruminate over mistakes we've made, replay conversations gone wrong, or regret opportunities missed. Simultaneously, we project forward, imagining worst-case scenarios, fretting about what-ifs, and anticipating problems that may never arise. The irony is that neither the past nor the future exists right now. They're constructs of the mind. The only reality we truly have access to is this very moment. When we anchor ourselves in the present, we step out of the endless loop of worry and into a space of clarity, calm, and possibility. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, is the key to accessing this space. By training your awareness to rest in the here and now, you interrupt habitual patterns of thinking and open yourself up to new ways of experiencing life. But mindfulness isn't just about reducing stress, it's also about enhancing joy. When you fully engage with the present, even mundane activities become infused with meaning and delight. Washing dishes becomes an opportunity to feel the warmth of water on your hands. Walking becomes a chance to notice the rhythm of your steps and the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Life slows down and suddenly there's so much more to appreciate. How to cultivate presence. Now that we've established the importance of the present moment, let's talk about how to cultivate it. Below are several strategies designed to help you shift your focus from distraction to awareness, allowing you to find joy in everyday experiences. Engage your senses. One of the simplest ways to ground yourself in the present is by engaging your senses. Take a moment to notice what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, for example. If you're eating a meal, savor each bite. Notice the flavors, textures, and aromas. Appreciate the effort that went into preparing the food. If you're outdoors, tune into the sounds around you, the rustling leaves, chirping birds, distant hum of traffic. Feel the breeze against your skin or the earth under your shoes. By immersing yourself in sensory details, you bring your attention back to the richness of the moment. Practice gratitude. In real-time, gratitude doesn't have to wait until the end of the day. You can practice it in real time by pausing to acknowledge the goodness in front of you. For instance, as you sip your morning coffee, silently thank yourself for taking a moment to pause and recharge. While chatting with a friend, express gratitude for their presence and the connection you share. During a walk, appreciate the beauty of nature, the vibrant colors of flowers, the majesty of trees, the vastness of the sky. These micro moments of gratitude amplify your experience of joy, reminding you of life's abundance. Adopt a beginner's mind. Beginner's mind refers to approaching familiar situations with curiosity and openness, as if encountering them for the first time. This mindset helps you break free from autopilot and rediscover wonder in everyday activities. For example, instead of rushing through your morning routine, view it as an experiment. How does the toothpaste taste? What sensations arise as you brush your hair? When cooking, observe the process as if you've never done it before. Watch how ingredients transform. Listen to the sizzle of the pan. Inhale the scents wafting through the air. By adopting a beginner's mind, you turn routine tasks into opportunities for exploration and delight. Use anchors to stay. Present anchors are focal points that help tether your attention to the present moment. Common anchors include your breath, bodily sensations, or specific objects in your environment. Here's how to use them. Focus on your breath, feeling the rise and fall of your chest, or the coolness of air entering your nostrils. Place your hand on your heart or stomach, noticing the steady rhythm of your pulse. Choose an object, a flower, a candle, a stone, and study it closely, observing its shape, color, and texture. Whenever you notice your mind wandering, gently return to your anchor. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to stay grounded. Create rituals of presence. Rituals are intentional actions that invite mindfulness into your daily life. They don't need to be elaborate. Simple acts performed with full attention can make a big difference. For example, start each day with a few minutes of quiet reflection, setting an intention for how you'd like to show up. End your evening by journaling 3 things you enjoyed during the day, no matter how small. Before meals, take a moment to breathe deeply and give thanks for the nourishment you're about to receive. Rituals provide structure and consistency, making it easier to integrate mindfulness into your routine. Finding joy in ordinary moments. One of the most liberating truths about joy is that it doesn't require extraordinary circumstances. In fact, some of the happiest moments in life are the simplest ones. Below are a few examples of how to find joy in everyday activities. Morning routine. Instead of rushing through your morning, treat it as sacred time. Stretch your body, sip tea slowly, and greet the day with a smile. Even brushing your teeth can be an act of self-care if done mindfully. Commute, whether you drive, bike, or take public transportation, your commute offers countless opportunities for mindfulness. Listen to calming music, observe the changing scenery, or practice deep breathing exercises. Household chores like folding laundry, washing dishes, or vacuuming might seem tedious, but they can double as meditative practices. Pay attention to the movements of your body, the sounds of water running, or the satisfaction of completing a task. Nature. Walk spending. Time in nature is one of the easiest ways to connect with the present moment. Leave your phone behind, walk barefoot if possible, and immerse yourself in the sights, sounds, and smells around you. Creative expression engaging in creative activities, drawing, writing, gardening, or playing music allows you to lose yourself in the flow of the moment. Let go of expectations and focus on the process rather than the outcome. Overcoming resistance to presence. If you're new to mindfulness, you might encounter resistance along the way. Distractions, boredom, or impatience can make it challenging to stay present. Here are a few tips to overcome these obstacles. Start small. You don't need to dedicate hours to mindfulness practice. Begin with just 1 or 2 minutes a day, gradually increasing the duration as you become more comfortable. Be patient with yourself. Your mind will wander. It's natural. Instead of criticizing yourself, gently guide your attention back to the present moment. Each time you do this, you're strengthening your mindfulness muscle. Find joy in effort, not perfection. Mindfulness isn't about achieving a particular state of bliss. It's about showing up fully regardless of how you feel. Celebrate the effort you put into staying present, knowing that progress takes time. Experiment with different techniques. Not every mindfulness practice will resonate with you immediately. Try various approaches, breathwork, body scans, mindful eating, until you find what feels authentic and enjoyable. Personal story. Rediscovering wonder. Let me share a story that illustrates the magic of finding joy in the present moment. A few years ago, I found myself stuck in a rut. Between work deadlines, personal obligations, and general fatigue, I felt disconnected from life. Days blurred together, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd genuinely smiled. One weekend, a friend invited me to join her on a hike. Reluctantly, I agreed, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. As we walked through the forest, she pointed out tiny details I'd overlooked, the intricate patterns on tree bark, the delicate petals of wildflowers, the way sunlight filtered through the canopy. At first, I dismissed her observations as trivial, but eventually her enthusiasm rubbed off on me. I began noticing things too, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the melody of birdsong, the coolness of shade after patches of sun. Without realizing it, I started smiling, not because anything monumental had happened, but because I was fully present. For the first time in weeks, I felt alive. That hike reminded me of something fundamental. Joy isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover. It's already there, waiting for you to slow down and pay attention. Since then, I've made it a point to seek out moments of presence, whether in nature, during conversations, or while performing everyday tasks. These moments remind me that happiness isn't reserved for special occasions. It's woven into the fabric of daily life. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on how you can infuse more presence into your days. Where do you tend to get caught up in distractions? What ordinary moments could become extraordinary with a little attention and care? Remember, joy isn't somewhere else. It's right here, in this very moment, if you choose to see it. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build a daily mindfulness practice. Small steps that lead to big changes. Thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and fulfillment. Chapter 9. Building a daily practice. Small steps, big impact. In our previous chapter, we explored how finding joy in the present moment can transform ordinary experiences into sources of happiness and fulfillment. Now, as we move into Chapter 9, we're going to focus on one of the most important steps for sustaining these practices over time: building a daily mindfulness routine. Consistency is key when it comes to cultivating peace of mind and reducing worry. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, mindfulness practices strengthen the mind, but only if done regularly. The good news is that you don't need hours each day to see results. Even small, intentional actions can create profound shifts in your mindset and well-being. In this chapter, we'll dive deep into why consistency matters, explore practical strategies for creating a sustainable daily practice, and address common challenges along the way. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine consciously or engage in self-reflection in your existing habits, these insights will help you stay grounded, resilient, and connected to the present moment. Why consistency matters. Think of mindfulness as planting seeds in a garden. Each time you meditate, breathe, you're nurturing those seeds. Over time, they grow into strong roots, habits that anchor you during life's storms. But like any garden, progress takes patience and care. A single session won't yield overnight results, but regular practice lays the foundation for long-term growth. Research supports this idea. Studies show that consistent mindfulness practices lead to measurable changes in brain structure and function. For example, regular meditation increases gray matter density in areas associated with memory, empathy, and emotional regulation, while decreasing activity in regions linked to stress and anxiety. These neurological adaptations enhance your ability to handle challenges with clarity and calm. But consistency isn't just about physiological benefits, it's also about creating a sense of stability in an unpredictable world. Life is full of ups and downs, and having a daily practice provides a reliable touch point, a moment of stillness amidst chaos. It reminds you that no matter what happens externally, you always have access to inner peace. Designing your daily practice. Building a daily mindfulness practice doesn't require drastic changes. In fact, trying to overhaul your entire routine all at once often leads to burnout or frustration. Instead, start small and build gradually. Below are several strategies to help you design a practice that fits seamlessly into your life. Start with micro habits. Micro habits are tiny actions that take minimal effort but yield significant results over time. Examples include taking 3 deep breaths before starting your day, or pausing for 30 seconds to notice your surroundings before eating a meal. Writing down one thing you're grateful for before bed. These micro habits act as stepping stones, making it easier to incorporate larger practices later on. They also reduce resistance, as they feel manageable and achievable. Set realistic goals when designing your practice. Be honest about how much time and energy you can realistically dedicate. If you aim too high too quickly, you risk setting yourself up for failure. Instead, commit to something sustainable. For instance, 5 minutes of meditation per day or journaling for 2 sentences. You can always expand as you gain confidence and momentum. Create a dedicated space. Having a designated area for your mindfulness practice reinforces the habit. This space doesn't need to be elaborate. It could be a corner of your bedroom, a cozy chair, or even a spot outside. Decorate it with items that inspire tranquility, a candle, a plant, or meaningful objects. Every time you enter this space, your brain will associate it with calm and focus. Pair new habits with existing ones. 1. Of the easiest ways to establish a new habit is by attaching it to an existing one. For example, meditate for 5 minutes after brushing your teeth in the morning. Practice mindful breathing while waiting for coffee to brew. Reflect on your day during your evening shower. By linking new behaviors to familiar routines, you eliminate decision fatigue and increase the likelihood of sticking with them. Use reminders and cues. Life gets busy and it's easy to forget your intentions. Use reminders to keep your practice top of mind. Set alarms on your phone, place sticky notes around your environment, or use apps designed for mindfulness tracking. These cues serve as gentle nudges, helping you stay accountable. Experiment with different practices. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to mindfulness. What works for someone else might not resonate with you, and that's okay. Experiment with various techniques until you find what feels authentic and enjoyable. Some possibilities include guided meditations, body scans, journaling prompts, yoga or stretching, walking meditations. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's exploration. Allow yourself the freedom to try different methods and adjust as needed, overcoming common challenges. Even with the best intentions, maintaining a daily practice isn't always smooth sailing. Below are some common obstacles and tips for overcoming them. Lack of time. I'm too busy is one of the most frequent excuses for skipping mindfulness practices. While it's true that modern life moves quickly, carving out even 5 minutes can make a difference. Prioritize your practice by treating it as non-negotiable, as essential as brushing your teeth or eating breakfast. If finding uninterrupted time feels impossible, break your practice into smaller chunks throughout the day. For example, do 1 minute of deep breathing in the morning, another during lunch, and a final minute before bed. Distractions. It's normal for your mind to wander during mindfulness exercises. Instead of fighting distractions, acknowledge them without judgment and gently guide your attention back to the task at hand. Over time, this process trains your brain to focus more effectively. To minimize external interruptions, choose a quiet location, silence your phone, or use noise-cancelling headphones. If noise is unavoidable, embrace it as part of the experience. Focus on the sounds themselves, using them as anchors for your awareness. Self-criticism. Many people struggle with feelings of inadequacy when their practice doesn't meet expectations. Maybe you couldn't sit still for long enough, or your mind felt restless. These moments are opportunities for self-compassion, not judgment. Remind yourself that mindfulness is a journey, not a destination. Every attempt counts, no matter how imperfect it may seem. Plateaus and boredom. With any habit, there will be times when your practice feels stale or uninspired. To reignite motivation, mix things up. Try a new meditation app, read a book on mindfulness, or attend a workshop. Sometimes, simply shifting your perspective can rekindle enthusiasm. Expectations versus reality. Some beginners expect immediate results, a sudden surge of bliss or enlightenment. While mindfulness does bring benefits, they often unfold subtly and gradually. Lower your expectations and trust the process. Celebrate small victories along the way, knowing that each step contributes to lasting change. The power of accountability and community. While mindfulness is inherently personal, sharing your journey with others can amplify its impact. Accountability partners, support groups, or online communities provide encouragement, inspiration, and feedback. Here's how to leverage these resources. Find an accountability partner, pair up with a friend, family member, or colleague who shares your interest in mindfulness. Check in regularly to discuss progress, challenges, and insights. Knowing someone else is counting on you boosts commitment. Join a class or group. Look for local or virtual classes, workshops, or retreats focused on mindfulness. Participating in group activities fosters connection and accountability while exposing you to diverse perspectives. Use technology wisely. Apps like Headspace, Calm, or Insight Timer offer guided meditations, habit trackers, and community forums. These tools can supplement your practice and keep you motivated. Document your progress. Keep a journal to track your experiences, reflections, and breakthroughs. Not only does this reinforce accountability, but it also creates a record of your growth over time. revisiting past entries can remind you how far you've come. Personal story: stumbling towards success. Let me share a story that illustrates the importance of persistence in building a daily practice. When I first started meditating, I approached it with lofty ambitions. I envisioned myself sitting cross-legged for 30 minutes each morning, perfectly serene and enlightened. Needless to say, reality didn't align with my vision. On day one, I lasted barely 5 minutes before my legs cramped, my back ached, and my mind raced uncontrollably. Frustrated, I almost gave up entirely, but instead I decided to scale back. I committed to just 2 minutes a day, no excuses, no exceptions. At first, those 2 minutes felt awkward and unproductive. My thoughts wandered constantly and I doubted whether I was doing anything right. Yet, I stuck with it. Slowly but surely, the practice began to feel less forced and more natural. After a month, I increased the duration to 5 minutes, then 10. Eventually, meditation became a cornerstone of my daily routine, not because I forced it, but because I grew to love it. Looking back, I realized that success wasn't about achieving some grand milestone. It was about showing up consistently even when it felt messy or uncomfortable. Those small, imperfect efforts added up to something beautiful, a habit that continues to nourish my mind and spirit. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to reflect on what a daily mindfulness practice might look like for you. What small steps can you take today to nurture your well-being? How can you adapt these strategies to fit your unique circumstances? Remember, the journey begins with a single breath, and every step forward is worth celebrating. In the next chapter, we'll explore the final piece of the puzzle: trusting the process and embracing patience as you navigate growth and transformation. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and resilience. Chapter 10: Trusting the Process. Patience and Growth. In our previous chapter, we explored how building a daily mindfulness practice through small, consistent steps can create profound shifts in your mindset and well-being. Now, as we move into Chapter 10, we're going to focus on the final, yet perhaps most essential piece of this journey: trusting the process. Trusting the process means embracing patience, surrendering to the natural rhythm of growth, and recognizing that progress is rarely linear. It's about letting go of the need for immediate results and instead focusing on the beauty of evolution, the gradual unfolding of change over time. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, this principle can feel challenging. We want quick fixes, dramatic transformations, and visible proof that our efforts are paying off. But true growth, the kind that lasts, requires something deeper: faith in yourself, faith in the tools you've been cultivating, and faith in the wisdom of life itself. In this chapter, we'll delve into why patience is so crucial, explore how to cultivate trust during uncertain times, and reflect on the transformative power of embracing imperfection along the way. By the end, my hope is that you'll feel empowered to walk gently through life, honoring the ebb and flow of your journey without rushing or resisting. Why patience is essential for growth. Patience is often misunderstood. It's not about passively waiting for things to happen. It's about actively engaging with the present moment while trusting that your efforts will bear fruit in due time. Think of patience as planting a garden. You till the soil, sow the seeds, water them regularly, and then you wait. You don't dig up the seeds every day to check their progress. Instead, you trust that they're growing beneath the surface, even if you can't see it right away. Similarly, personal growth unfolds in layers. Some changes are visible immediately, like feeling calmer after a meditation session or lighter after writing in a gratitude journal. Others take longer to manifest, working quietly in the background until one day you realize how far you've come. Without patience, it's easy to become discouraged, assuming that because you don't see instant results, your efforts aren't worthwhile. But here's the truth: every step you take matters. Every breath you deepen, every thought you observe, every act of kindness you extend contributes to your transformation. From a Buddhist perspective, patience is considered one of the 6 paramitas or perfections that lead to enlightenment. It's seen not as a passive virtue, but as an active practice of endurance, resilience, and compassion. When we embrace patience, we acknowledge that challenges are part of the path and that wisdom arises from sitting with discomfort rather than avoiding it. How to cultivate trust in the process. Trust doesn't always come naturally, especially when faced with setbacks or slow progress. Below are several strategies to help you develop faith in the process and nurture a mindset of patience. Shift your focus from outcomes to effort. One of the biggest barriers to trust is attachment to specific outcomes. We set goals, dream of milestones, and measure success based on external markers. While having aspirations is important, fixating on them can blind us to the value of the journey itself. Instead, focus on your effort. Did you show up today? Did you give your best? If so, that's enough. Celebrate the act of participation, knowing that consistent effort compounds over time. Embrace nonlinear progress. Growth isn't a straight line, it's more like a spiral. There will be days when you feel unstoppable, and others when you stumble. This is completely normal. Instead of viewing setbacks as failures, reframe them as opportunities to learn and recalibrate. Each dip in the spiral brings you closer to higher ground. For example, imagine someone learning to meditate. On some days, their mind feels calm and focused. On others, it races uncontrollably. Both experiences are valid, and both contribute to their overall development. The key is to keep showing up, regardless of how successful each session feels. Practice radical acceptance. Radical acceptance means fully embracing reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It involves acknowledging difficulties without resistance, knowing that fighting against what is only amplifies suffering. When you accept where you are, you free up energy to focus on meaningful action. For instance, if you're struggling to establish a mindfulness habit, resist the urge to criticize yourself. Instead say, "This is hard right now, and that's okay. I'm doing the best I can." This simple shift fosters self-compassion and reduces frustration. Visualize long-term growth. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Envision the person you're becoming, a version of yourself who's calmer, wiser, and more resilient. Picture the qualities you admire in others: patience, courage, authenticity, and recognize that these traits are within reach. To make this vision tangible, write down your intentions. For example, I am cultivating peace of mind through consistent mindfulness practices. I am learning to respond to challenges with grace and curiosity. I am creating space for joy and connection in my daily life. Revisit these statements whenever you need encouragement. They serve as reminders of why you started this journey in the first place. Celebrate small wins big. Transformations are made up of countless small victories. Take time to acknowledge and celebrate these moments, no matter how insignificant they may seem. Finished a meditation session despite feeling restless? Celebrate. Noticed a negative thought without getting swept away by it? Celebrate. Took a deep breath before reacting impulsively? Celebrate. Each win reinforces your commitment and builds momentum. Over time, these tiny triumphs add up to monumental change. The role of surrender in trusting the process. Surrender often carries a negative connotation, conjuring images of giving up or losing control. But in the context of growth, surrender means releasing resistance and allowing life to unfold naturally. It's not about abandoning effort. It's about aligning with the flow of existence rather than fighting against it. Consider the analogy of a river. Water flows effortlessly, adapting to obstacles and finding its path organically. It doesn't force its way through rocks or bends, it simply adjusts. In the same way, we can navigate life with flexibility and grace, trusting that challenges are temporary and growth often emerges from discomfort. Surrender also involves letting go of perfectionism. Growth is inherently messy. Expecting smooth sailing sets you up for disappointment. Instead, embrace the bumps and detours as integral parts of the journey. They teach you resilience, humility, and adaptability, qualities that ultimately enrich your experience. Overcoming impatience and doubt. Even with the best intentions, impatience and doubt can creep in, undermining your confidence and motivation. Here are a few tips to overcome these hurdles. Zoom out when you feel stuck, zoom out and look at the broader trajectory of your life. Reflect on how far you've come since starting this journey. Chances are you've already accomplished more than you realize. Seek inspiration, read books, listen to podcasts, or watch videos about people who've undergone significant personal growth. Their stories remind you that transformation takes time and persistence. Practice gratitude for the present moment. Gratitude anchors you in the now, helping you appreciate the progress you've made so far. Even if you haven't reached your ultimate goal, there's value in where you stand today. Remind yourself why you started. Reconnect with your original motivations. What inspired you to pursue mindfulness? What benefits have you experienced thus far? Reaffirming your purpose reignites passion and commitment. Lean on support system. Don't hesitate to reach out to friends, mentors, or communities for encouragement. Sometimes, hearing someone else's perspective can provide clarity and reassurance. Personal story, learning to trust. Let me share a story that illustrates the importance of trusting the process. Several years ago, I embarked on a year-long project to declutter and simplify my life. Inspired by minimalist principles, I envisioned a home filled with light, space, and tranquility. The first few weeks were exhilarating. I donated clothes, cleared out shelves, and organized drawers. Then, reality hit. Sorting through sentimental items, a box of old letters, childhood mementos, photographs, proved emotionally draining. My pace slowed dramatically, and I began questioning whether I'd ever finish. Frustrated, I almost gave up. But then I remembered something a mentor once told me. Progress is rarely visible in the moment. Trust that each step, no matter how small, moves you forward. Taking those words to heart, I adjusted my approach. Instead of setting rigid deadlines, I committed to tackling one area at a time, celebrating each completed section. By the end of the year, I transformed my living space into exactly what I'd imagined, a sanctuary of simplicity and serenity. Looking back, I realized that the process itself had been just as valuable as the outcome. It taught me patience, perseverance, and the art of letting go. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on your own relationship with patience and trust. Where do you struggle to let go of control? How can you nurture faith in your ability to grow and adapt? Remember, life is a journey, not a destination. Every step you take brings you closer to the person you're meant to become. In the next and final section of this video, we'll bring everything together with a closing message. Until then, thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater peace, resilience, and fulfillment. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Mindful Zone. Over the past hour, we've explored powerful tools and insights inspired by Buddhism, meditation, and mindfulness practices, all aimed at helping you stop worrying about the negative and embrace a life filled with greater peace, presence, and joy. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered together. We began by understanding why we worry and how awareness gives us the power to observe our thoughts without judgment. From there, we delved into the Buddhist perspective on letting go of control, reminding ourselves that impermanence is not something to fear, but to celebrate. We discovered the transformative power of gratitude, learned to breathe through anxiety, and embraced imperfection as a source of strength rather than shame. Compassion for ourselves and others became a cornerstone of our exploration, teaching us to connect deeply and authentically. Finding joy in the present moment showed us how beauty exists in the ordinary, while building a daily practice reinforced the importance of consistency and patience. Finally, we closed with a reminder to trust the process, honoring the natural rhythm of growth and transformation. Each chapter was designed to offer practical strategies you can integrate into your daily life, no matter where you are on your journey. Whether you're new to mindfulness or already walking this path, my hope is that these teachings have sparked inspiration and provided clarity. Remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about showing up even in small ways and trusting that every step forward matters. As you move forward, I encourage you to reflect on which practices resonated most with you. Maybe it was the simplicity of breathwork, the warmth of compassion, or the grounding power of gratitude. Whatever spoke to your heart, lean into it, make it yours, and don't hesitate to revisit these chapters whenever you need guidance or encouragement. One final thought before we part ways. Life is unpredictable, and that's what makes it so beautiful. While we can't control everything, we can choose how we respond to uncertainty, with fear or faith, resistance or acceptance, judgment or curiosity. Every choice shapes the quality of our experience. So, let's commit to meeting life with an open heart and a willingness to grow. Let's celebrate both the highs and the lows, knowing they're all part of the tapestry of our existence. If you found value in this video, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could share it with someone who might benefit from its message. Your support helps spread these teachings to more people eager to cultivate peace and resilience in their lives. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the Mindful Zone for more content like this. Together we can create a community dedicated to mindfulness, connection, and well-being. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with a short affirmation, a gentle reminder to carry with you as you navigate the days ahead. I am enough exactly as I am. I trust myself to handle whatever arises. I choose to meet each moment with kindness, curiosity, and courage. Repeat these words to yourself whenever you need reassurance. They hold the essence of everything we've discussed today. Thank you again for being here, for taking this time to invest in your well-being, and for joining me on this journey toward greater peace and authenticity. Until next time, may you walk gently through life, finding beauty in every step and trusting the wisdom within you. Namaste.